purple broccoli. Boy, is that gorgeous. It is such an excitement to see that growing in the garden because, well, we'll talk about why, but you know what? A little butter, steamed, and it is so good, and it was well worth the wait. Hi, it's Robbie from Southern California, and I'm going to do this real short video on purple sprouting broccoli. This is purple sprouting broccoli. Isn't this beautiful? It is absolutely gorgeous. So I'm going to cut all the heads off because we don't want the flowers to open, because once they open, it won't taste good, and it's all through here. So let me explain what purple sprouting broccoli is. It's a beautiful green plant that you can use the leaves in anything you want, which you could chop it up, nice young leaves, and you can put that in salad. You can use the leaves for stir fry. You can use it in a green drink. You can use it in wraps, anything you want. That is the great thing about this plant. Now, there is some negatives with this plant. And believe it or not, this is a cutting I did off of my old purple sprouting broccoli that used to grow in the bird garden that I took out and Gary put in his garden. Here's the negative on the plant. Though it's beautiful and it tastes wonderful, whether you cook it, steam it, use it raw, and this will continue to have some beautiful sprouting broccoli. That's why it's called purple sprouting, because it's only small spears. See how they're coming up like that? Now the negative is it only throws the head sometimes in March and throughout April, and then it's done. Where if you have regular broccoli, that's called sprouting broccoli, the green, it could do it almost all year. So here are some different types of broccoli I've grown in my rainbow garden. I have grown broccolini, which grows the spear straight up, and I also have grown sprouting broccoli, which is very similar to the broccolini, and then there's also the regular broccoli. Now the regular broccoli is this one, and if you cut the head off as it starts to develop, it will continue to throw side shoots. You can use the leaves on all of these all year round, but what's nice about all these broccolis, the green ones, they actually will produce spears pretty much 9 months out of the year. Sometimes they'll even go longer than that. And the plant, I've had them last for as long as 4, sometimes 5 years. Generally, you want to start them new after a couple years, but that is the difference between sprouting broccoli and purple broccoli. And here is me harvesting them in the yard last year. So I'm back here and I'm going to pick a lot of this because if I leave it, it's just going to flower and then we don't get to eat it. As you'll see, the broccoli is trying to grow more broccoli heads right at where the leaf is coming through. So you have to look at it and see, well, if it's already got something growing, then you want to get that off. If you see it just starting, you may want to leave it. Now, I've left some of these a little too long, so I'm going to get a lot of this off right now, but you can get it at any stage. You can take it at any size, and even the flowers, they're good to eat. You can eat it. I take it down to the next leaf. So I leave the leaf that is underneath that's going to grow more spears for me. It's not rocket science. You can easily do it any way you want. Just do it carefully, not to get stung by a bee that may be feeding and get very upset that you've pulled his food away. Now, these are really nice and clean. I have no insects on them, and that's because of the bush tits that come in and clean it off for me. I have not had to use any pesticides on this at all in my garden, and I let the birds do all that for me. It's got some small broccoli growing on this, so I'm going to take this. You don't have to get everything, but look at it and see if it's going to get bigger, and if you think it's going to get bigger, then you leave it. If you think that particular spear is done, take it off, but it's going to keep reproducing. The more you cut, the more it will reproduce in between the leaves. But when it comes to purple sprouting broccoli, you're only going to get it for about 2 months. And once it's done, it's done. Now this is going to have a whole lot more coming through. So I'm hoping it will continue all through April. And the main thing will be, I will want to get all the big heads off, so the small ones will continue to develop. If you don't, and these start to open, then the small ones, what could happen is instead of developing this nice head, and that's pretty much as big as it's going to get, these will start to open up as flowers as well. So as you cut it, you're telling the plant it didn't work. You didn't produce seeds. Keep trying. And that's why you want to take all these off. I'm going to gather them all up and I'm going to steam them tonight and have them for dinner. I'm going to leave the tiny ones that are developing under here. So hopefully these will get almost as big as these. They tend a lot of times to have the big ones. The first ones come up bigger, and then underneath they seem to come up a little bit smaller, but that's okay. See, they're all through here, but you want to send that signal to the plant saying, nope, it didn't work. And this is growing in my front yard. Look at how beautiful everything is because we're so cold. It's cloudy today and it's been raining off and on. But this is what this plant loves. So if you have patience and you don't mind having beautiful spears of purple broccoli, this is the plant to grow in your garden. If you want something that's going to go constantly, then you want a green sprouting broccoli. And that will continue to grow into a big bush and throw spears pretty much all through the cooler season. And then in the summer, kind of, sometimes they don't, and then they'll come back later. But this has just been so fun because I didn't even notice. Let's see if we can get in here real quick. And I don't know if we can. You're not going to believe how this is growing. The trunk is winding around there, going through my parsley that is now throwing seed. And it is growing. Here it is. This is the trunk. Even the trunk's got a little bit of purple there. It's growing in this pot. And this pot was for a cutting I had done. And it wound down on the ground and it's come back up. And you know what? I'll tell you, a couple times I've looked at this and I was going to compost this, and boy, am I glad I didn't, because what I'm going to do after it's all done is I'm going to mark this so I know it is purple sprouting broccoli, and I'm going to do some cuttings off of this. You can propagate this by taking cuttings when it's all done seeding, and then you just put it in a pot, like something like what it's growing in, and then water it real good. It will set root, and then come next year, that's the thing, I won't get any more purple coming through, the purple heads on it, until next year. But in the meantime, I can always be using the beautiful tender green leaves throughout the year. And it's very resilient. It's been growing in this little pot with very little care, sitting just here in another container, double-decker, and doing its thing by continuously growing into a beautiful plant. So I'm going to go do this now. It's going to be very simple. I want these heads to get bigger. I will clip it to around here, and I will take this off in hopes that it will continue all the way down, see, to grow. Now this, I'll wash this, put this in a pot with a little bit of water, bring it to a boil, steam it for a few minutes, and then add some butter. Drain the water out. It's going to be so good. But I do want to try to get it to grow more. Now, as we go into May, it will be done. And once it's done, it will stop trying to go to seed. And you don't want this to open, because if it opens up to big, beautiful yellow flowers, you've got something bitter. See, here's another one that's open. That's not purple. These are green. You can see them there. And that's when you really don't want to eat them. You can take the heads off on the top and use some of them, but it won't taste as good. And these are so beautiful, just so gorgeous to grow. And I think it's worth growing, at least to have a pot growing in your garden, and then just have a few. But definitely, I want to stop this, and I'll take it, we'll take it like that, go through and collect a whole bunch of them. And then in the next couple days, if all goes well, I'll continue to be able to come out here and pick some of the heads and be able to continue to steam some beautiful purple broccoli for dinner. I hope I've given you some tips and tricks on growing broccoli, propagating it, because this was propagated. I did not plant this from seed. My original one, yes, but not these. This was simply cuttings. And right now, if I took the cuttings, it may not take because it's trying to seed. This plant has been sent a message. It's the time of the year to develop seeds. So if I did the cutting and tried to grow it, it won't work right. But when it's completely done, growing the heads is when you do a nice cutting on it. There won't be any heads on it. There won't be any seeds. Do a whole bunch of them in case they don't take. And if you do, like, I don't know, let's say 5 of them, hopefully out of 5, you'll get like 2 will take. They'll grow roots and then they'll turn into a big, beautiful green plant. And then you'll end up having all this beautiful broccoli next year to eat. But in the meantime, you'll be eating the green leaves. It's coming up all through there. Is that cool? And is that beautiful? Purple is so good to eat. So that's it. It's real easy. Get yourself some purple sprouting broccoli seeds and try growing some. Be patient, because it only does this thing about 2 months out of the year, and it's usually between March and April. So with that, have a wonderful day. Eat your broccoli. You know who eats broccoli. Kitty's gonna be so excited to get some purple broccoli. And don't forget to eat what you grow. Bye-bye. Absolutely gorgeous.